Strong looks different for each of us, and it's time to put focus on our unique journeys that get us there. This space, created weekly, is for athletes to improve their mindset in order to better navigate challenges that come up in sport and in different seasons of life. On this show, we ask the questions that lead to better answers and have the conversations that truly matter. This is the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Hey, you guys, welcome back to another episode of the Becoming Your Strong podcast. Big high five if you are a returning listener here doing the freaking work, and extra special hug for those of you that are new to the community. I've had a couple people reach out in the last few weeks saying how they found the podcast and they're absolutely in love with what we're talking about here. I'm so thrilled to have you here doing the work with us. And we got a special episode today. I think this one is really going to hit with a lot of you. And the Becoming Your Strong moment of the week is actually the inspiration for the podcast. So I am going to shout out my client and one of my really good friends, Olivia. Now, Olivia and I have a fun, special relationship. Her and I, she actually found one of my strength classes back when I was living in Thornton, working at the Thornton Rec Center, and she took my strength classes. And she was just that young pup out of the sea of older women that was just kicking butt in the front row. She found out that I did DECA. She wanted to get involved. I started training her for it. Then I was like, hey, you're really good. Let's do a teams race. And we did the whole freaking thing. We went to world championships. We took a podium spot. And now we are just on the rise together. I have no doubt that she's out to accomplish really big things this year. And I'm very excited to see what we can do again as a female team in the DECA Strong event this year. But she came to me and was like, hey, I've been thinking about doing Cirrus bricks. And I saw how much fun you had doing it last year. And I know that I'm not particularly strong in all the different areas that they test, but I feel like it'd be a really good challenge. And I was excited for her. I was like, absolutely, I think this would be an amazing opportunity for you. And so she took it on. And so far, she's been doing a really good job. And this last Friday, we did our test in for the strength test, which was a pretty tough one, especially if you are newer to barbell lifting, if it's not necessarily your jam. I know that for me, I just started touching a barbell in like January of 2024, really and truly, and at least doing it consistently and correctly. I, of course, touched one previous to that, but nothing consistent. And so my barbell skills have really improved over the last year. And I know that she is, again, fairly newer to the skill set itself. But it was max front squats, max bench press, max dead stop deadlifts, and then max pull-ups. So again, 4 fairly technical movements. And the people that we are competing against are people that do this every single day, this type of lifting every single day. The girls that still have to test in are CrossFitters, and they can lift really freaking heavy. And so I knew going into this event that this would be, a good challenge for the both of us. And I ended up pulling up the top score so far for the females. Olivia fell towards the back of the pack for the initial testing. And she texted me after just saying, okay, I just spent my entire drive home upset and frustrated with how I did, just feeling really less than. And so I want to recognize that alone, because being able to call out what you are feeling emotionally, being aware of it and calling yourself out on it is such a huge part of change. And if you ever want to become the person that you want to be, if you ever want to be strong, you have to be willing to have those conversations with yourself. Let yourself feel, validate yourself for how you're feeling, but then reach out for that support and that help to not only be like, hey, I just need to be heard, but I also need to work through this. And maybe I need assistance and how I can better work through this. So that way I'm not telling myself these stories that just aren't serving me. And so I just wanted to give her a really awesome shout out this week. I think that is just a phenomenal part of your progress, not only as an athlete, but who you're becoming as a woman. And I'm so proud of you. So that is actually the moment that inspired this week's podcast, which is all about unpacking those feelings of being less than. And I really connect with this topic. This is something that I've talked about on the podcast before, especially back when it was Taco About It Tuesday. Just this feeling of enoughness, worthiness, just never feeling like I'm up to par with other people. that has just come from my childhood of, I think, a couple of different folds. One of them, I was a competitive dancer, and you literally paid to be judged. You go up on stage and these people just pick you apart, anything from your appearance and outfits to your toes just aren't pretty enough and not pointed enough. And like, it literally is just picking apart every single part of you and telling you why you're not good enough to earn any sort of award or recognition. I also think that there is another fold of it where I just had some struggles, just like everyone does when they're younger, from the types of people that you're around. I mean, let's be honest, middle school and high school was brutal. I don't know about you guys. I hated it, and I never want to go back to it because I had a tough time of figuring out who I was and fitting in. And then when I finally felt like I did, I wasn't 100% myself. And when I did show up as myself, then I was hated and ridiculed for some of the decisions that I made of just standing up for other people and doing the right thing. And when you go to school with the same 15, 20 people for 6 to 7 years because your school is just so small, it's just hard. It was really, really hard. So there was a lot of things just growing up and just a part of my childhood that really created these stories within me as now an adult woman of subconsciously, I am just not enough. And so I want to unpack how I've dealt with this over the last several years and just the key questions that I've asked myself to get the best answers in me tackling this thing that has consumed me most of my life. And so the very first step is recognizing that what you're feeling is a lack of enoughness, and there is an underlying reason for that. You can either fall back into these traps of feeling this way throughout your entire journey, throughout your entire life, or you can start a whole new chapter right here, right now in your life by doing the freaking work. When you feel jealous, less than, not enough, I want you to ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What is the actual root cause? What is that experience in my life that has caused me to tell myself these stories, to feel this way? Once you're able to identify that, then we have to start to put new stories into place that will validate what's actually true and will actually help us become the person that we want to be. This isn't an overnight thing. This isn't going to be like you ask yourself the question, you figure out the answer right away. Guys, this was consistently having conversations with myself of like, I'm aware of this. I'm recognizing this. Why is this happening? Why do I always feel this way? And I didn't find the answer at first. Again, it was that consistent conversation with myself. And then over time, I was able to think of, whoa, I am totally validated in the reason why I feel this way. Look at the past that I've been through. But when I think through it logically, I'm able to tell myself, yeah, like people go through that, but I don't have to feel that way anymore. Like that stuff is just not true. And look at who I've become because of it and how strong I am. I don't need to tell myself these stories anymore. Like I'm a completely total different person and I'm better for it, right? So it's being able to take that first step and just stopping, recognizing after you've become aware and asking yourself, why am I feeling this way? What are the root causes behind this? The next thing is, if you have felt the way that Olivia has ever felt, which I know that I have, when we've watched someone else get an outcome that we've so badly wanted, or you just felt like you weren't deserving of being there, we need to go back and remember the reason why we're doing the thing that we're doing in the first place. The reason, you guys, why I put myself through DECA, through ruck, is because, like, for example, when I went backpacking for the first time with my boyfriend, Dave, I put on that 60 to 70 pound backpack and I started hiking up this hill and I was like, oh my God, like I feel so strong. I feel so capable. I feel so empowered. And I had been asked to do a ruck race for DECA for so many months prior to that. And I was like, hell no, these races suck enough. Why the hell am I going to put an additional 20 pounds on my back? No way. But just that feeling that I had of how confident I was in myself and how empowered I felt, I was like, I want to do that. I want to try this. This is a race that I love for so many reasons. Why not try it, right? So I've really connected with the reason why I do rucking. I'll actually tell you guys about a conversation the other night in regards to Cirrus Bricks is, you know, I had to go back and have a conversation with myself as to why I'm doing it again this year. And I think that that's important to go back and ask that about anything that you do, from the training to the races that you're competing in. And I just said with Dave, like, yeah, I just have started to ask myself these questions of why I'm doing it. And he's like, well, let me pose you the question, Kayla, why are you doing it this year? And we had a really good, open, vulnerable conversation around it. And I said, you know what? I'll be quite honest. Like, one, the reason why I love it is because of what they believe in. I believe in the race itself, as far as like the whole competition series is around finding the most well-rounded athlete. And it's agility, it's speed, it's endurance, it's strength. I believe in that. Like, I love that. And I love being a hybrid athlete and getting to test all four corners of that space. Like, that to me is really cool. And I was like, but there's also a part of me too that just wants to do a repeat, that wants to show myself that I can win again. Because prior to last year, guys, last year was my breakout season as an athlete. I have never been the best or the person to watch at anything ever in my life. Maybe like school, like I was like top of my class, but nothing athletics. And so I've gotten really good at learning how to come back from losing and just being a good loser. As funny as that sounds, I have not been good at figuring out how to win. Like, what do I do when I win? Like, it's just been this odd feeling that I still have yet to figure out, like, who am I as a winner? Who is Kayla, the world champion? It feels weird to say that. And sometimes I won't even fully acknowledge myself as that. Like, I almost like will cut myself down to be like, oh, well, the competition wasn't that good. Or, oh, well, you know, blah, 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 whatever, right? Like, I was the only one that did it. It's like, I showed up, I put in the work, I put in the man hours. Like, no, I am the world champion. I did the damn thing. And I'm tired of cutting myself down. So that's a different topic or a different tangent. But I was like, I want to learn, Dave, how to win in a way that's authentic and genuine to me, where I can actually give myself the praise for how talented I've become and how hard I've worked to be here, but also show up as the best me for the competitors around me, so that I leave a legacy and a story behind of like, I want to be like her. I want to be the humble, authentic, genuine champion that loved on everyone and genuinely rooted for everyone. Like, that's who I want to be seen as, not only during this competition series, but just in life for anything athletics that I do. And then again, of course, it's just, I want to push myself. I want to see how hard I can go. And I feel like the programming that has been written thus far will allow for me to do that. And so far, I felt that these tests have done that. And I've been able to celebrate myself in ways that I haven't been able to celebrate myself in before. So just a long way to explain the whole point of being able to go back to why you're doing the thing, just showing you guys examples of the kind of conversations and questions that you can ask yourself and what it is that you can recognize in this. That would be the next step that I would take. The next thing that I would do is anytime that I would get done with the race and I wish maybe that I could have pushed a little bit harder or done just a little bit better, I always ask myself, did you show up the best you tonight? Did you go to that place and did you sell out for yourself? It's so easy once we see the results to be like, oh, man, I suck in comparison. Oh, man, I wish I would have just hung on for one rep longer. That's what I asked Olivia. I said, look, it's really easy when the results are there and you see where you stack rank to feel less than. But in the moment when you were doing the thing, did you feel like you gave everything that you could? Like you worked within your means and you showed up for you? If you did that, then that's 100%. That's A++, my friend. That's the golden star. There's nothing more that you should do in that moment. You showed up exactly how you should have. And that's where it leads me into this last step and this last point that I want to make. When I'm feeling less than, I have to remind myself this. It is an honor not to be the best in the room. It gives us something to work for, and it gives us an idea of what's possible. One of the most powerful mindset shifts that I've had in athletics is to turn jealousy into hope for what's possible. Guys, other people's outcomes are not reasons as to why you can't, but rather are the proof that it could be done. You just have to go write your own story to get there. And that's the beauty on all of this. Thank you guys so much for showing up for you today, and I hope that this episode truly helped. Please be sure to share this with friends and family that need to hear this message, and rate, review the podcast if you haven't already. And again, thank you guys for giving me the space to grow and learn with you. I'm excited to see what comes up in our conversation next week on another episode of Becoming Your Strong. See you then.